Welcome to the channel, welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with the Elliot Anderson news that's coming from Florian Plettenberg, where he's tweeted the following, saying Manchester United and Newcastle are just two of many top clubs closely monitoring Elliot Anderson. Their interest has already been registered. Forest are aware, key player, understand for a transfer in the summer, a fee of around 100 to 120 million pounds is currently being demanded. There is no release clause. Now, I'm going to say straight away, Florian Plettenberg is actually quite a good source when it comes specifically to Bundesliga news. But anything outside of that, I've never found him to be that reliable. And there was a period last year, or earlier this year, if I remember rightly, after the January transfer window, where Florian Plettenberg was linking us with about 10 players per day. And I remember saying on videos that Florian Plettenberg has linked us with another player and another player. He was like the Ekram Connor of that time, if you've been a subscriber and you remember those sort of videos and all the rumours that were doing the rounds, where he was literally just linking us with player after player after player, and went down a little bit in my estimation from there. And not anyone that I would particularly, get giddy about when it comes outside of Bundesliga news. When it comes to Bundesliga news, he's very good. So credit's where it's due there. But I'm going to say take with a pinch of salt for now, because Elliot Anderson is a name on our list. Unless you've been living under a rock for the last few months, you'll be aware that Man United are linked with a potential move for Elliot Anderson in the midfield. He's up there with Baleba and Wharton as the probably three main names. Angelo Stiller is on that list as well. Maybe Morten Hjulmand, Conor Gallagher. You know the list. You know the list. I've been bringing you the news over the last few weeks as well. You know who's on our midfield list as well. But 100 to 120 million pounds. Like, why is it that Premier League players or young Premier League midfielders are being quoted as these sort of figures? Like, for 100 to 120 million pounds, I'd want somebody personally anyway that's like won a Champions League and in their prime and won titles and actually achieve something. Like, Elliot Anderson's a good young player and he's got into the national team and he's doing really well. And actually, probably out of all the midfielders that we're linked with, is probably my favourite one to go for. So I don't want to sound like I'm being a dick when I say this, but I don't think he's worth anywhere near 100 to 120 million pounds. I don't think Baleba is neither. I think he's massively overvalued, especially with his performances so far this year. Anderson, you could argue the case to say actually he's still performing. And like I said, he's got his England call up and potentially going to be in part of the England team in the World Cup going forward as well. But that's a ridiculous fee if the report is to be believed from Florian Plettenberg, which personally I have my doubts regarding the credibility there. But you can make up your own minds. Let me know in the comments what you think. Elliot Anderson, yes, no, 100 to 120 million pounds as well. Do you think he is worth that amount? Get involved in the comments. Give us your shouts on that below. Now, another midfielder that we have been linked with over probably in the last week or so has been Jobe Bellingham. So the Mirror are now saying that Jobe Bellingham has no interest in a shock move to Manchester United. Manchester United have been weighing up a potential loan deal for Borussia Dortmund star. Now, that came from Jeremy Cross, who actually, ironically, is one of the journalists that has been pushing the Jobe Bellingham to Manchester United news stories. So clearly, either something's happened where they've got wind of it, they're just not going through, or it was an absolute load of waffle to begin with in the first place. And to be fair, I'm actually glad. I said it in a video the other day, with all the noise around Jobe Bellingham's dad getting involved and waiting for the hierarchy to question them when Jobe Bellingham got subbed at halftime is a massive red flag for me, and the sort of bullshit and drama that we should be avoiding like the plague personally. So if he's decided to stay at Dortmund, then fair enough. Or the links with him to begin with were just complete made up and complete BS, and I'll let you decide which ones you believe regarding that. Now, this was an interesting story, actually. So Manchester United are one of three teams being linked to RB Salzburg winner Kerim Alajbegovic. According to Sky Sports Germany, United, Chelsea and Porto were all monitoring his situation. The 18-year-old has already made 20 appearances this season with 6 goals and 1 assist to his name. He joined Salzburg for just over £1 million after coming through the Bayern Leverkusen Academy. Now, obviously, we do have links with Christopher Vivell and the RB Leipzig and the RB group. So clearly that maybe would be a player that he would be aware of from his time there. Looks an interesting profile of players. It's interesting, isn't it? The last couple of days we've been linked with young wingers, and I did say in yesterday's video when we were linked with El Mala, that's the sort of profile I do think we are missing as well, as much as a midfielder and a wing back, and some of you would say a centre half as well in the comments. But I do think we miss that flair coming off the bench, like a young, tricky speedster or somebody that can drive it defensive. Because I was thinking after the Brighton game, we had to make the substitutions, and then the level sort of dropped off a little bit when we did that. That wouldn't have been nice if we had somebody to come off of the bench and actually cause Brighton a few more problems and maybe got that fourth goal, made our lives more comfortable. Obviously, we ended up conceding 2 and it was squeaky bum time until Mbeumo put the game to bed in injury time. But it would have been nice. I think it gives us an extra threat up front. So getting linked with these sort of young profile of wingers to come in and develop and play under Cunha and Mbeumo and maybe be an impact sub and develop from there, I'd actually be all for. In terms of Alajbegovic, not one that I've heard of. Looks good though from looks decent anyway from his highlights and the reports I've read and stuff. But I don't know too much about the profile, the player personally. So get involved in the comments. Let me know. Good shout, bad shout. Give us your thoughts and feelings on that particular link in the comments below, as I am sure that you will. Now let's go through. Stick with young players. So there's been a bit of conflicting stories regarding United's interest in another young player. So again, this is coming from Florian Plettenberg saying that exclusive Man United are in concrete negotiations over a transfer for Kevin Filling. The 16-year-old talented striker could leave AIK as early as this winter. Price valuation around €3 million. Some Bundesliga clubs are also considering him. Now we can't sign those players from overseas until they turn 18. So I think that would be a bit too early maybe for United to be able to get a deal for somebody like that done personally, because if he's 16, I don't know his date of birth or anything like that, but you're going to be talking, 2 years time before we can actually sign him. So I have question marks regarding that. But again, Florian Plettenberg saying we're in concrete negotiations regarding the kid. And again, I've watched his highlights and stuff. Looks like a real promising young player. So I could see why there would be interest in him. However, Christopher Michel, who's another German journalist, is saying that Manchester United looked at Kevin Filling over the summer and held discussions with AIK Football, but he is currently not under consideration at the club. So you got 2 different journalists saying 2 different things. Florian Plettenberg saying concrete negotiations, which I have my question marks about because of his age and Brexit and the rules around that. Christopher Michel saying no, not under consideration at the club, or by the club as well. So that becomes a case of who do you believe. Personally, I've always found Christopher Michel to be actually quite a decent German journalist when it comes to like his reporting and stuff. So I would tip my hat more towards him than Florian Plettenberg on that one personally. But that's just, they both could be wrong and it's just could be completely made up, or Florian Plettenberg could be right and we are in negotiations as well. But I don't have a drama with us looking at these sort of kids and young players. It's actually an area of the club I think are doing quite well at, with the Diego Leon, Sekou Kones, Chido Obi's, Aiden Heavens, like these sort of players actually I think do have potential and promise. So if we are looking at him, I'm going to assume that he's good and they're looking to do something. Or if we're not, maybe is someone under consideration, but it would have to be a little bit later on I think, because if he's 16 years old, it's we can't do anything till he's 18 anyway. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one. Give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. Now, sticking with young players, this was a really interesting report that's just come out regarding the actual youth and the integration of our own youth players as well. So this is coming from Sam C via Give Me Sports, saying that Manchester United head coach Rúben Amorim has started to include more and more youth players in his first team training sessions in recent weeks. The Red Devils boss has made a clear effort to integrate several academy prospects into the senior setup at Carrington as he looks to rebuild the pathway between the Old Trafford Giants academy and first team, a link many felt had been weakened in recent years. So Sam C goes on to say that sources close to Manchester United training ground say Amorim has been impressed by the sharpness and confidence of the young players stepping up, believing their involvement adds hunger and energy to sessions rather than keeping academy and senior squads apart. The Portuguese tactician has made a change and has been blending them in tactical and technical drills, encouraging competition and communication between both groups. So effectively saying that instead of having separation between the youth players and the senior teams, he's actually bringing them all together and doing a lot more to maybe help the young players feel part of the group, part of the team, and then to help the older players and experienced players as well get used to the young players and get to know them and help integrate them into the first team as well, which I think is not a bad thing to do. And I'm actually concerned that they haven't been doing that anyway, but that's where we are. He goes on to say that training got a real spark to it again. One source close to the first team told Gimme Sport. The young lads aren't just there to make up the numbers. Amorim wants them learning the standards and pushing for places, which is interesting. It goes on to say that one player consistently standing out is Shea Lacey. The 18-year-old winger has impressed staff and senior teammates alike with his directness and flair. A source close to the situation told Gimme Sport he's been tearing it up, fearless, creative, and always looking to make something happen. He's really caught the eye. And then he goes on to say that Lacey's form hasn't gone unnoticed by Amorim, who is understood to be keeping a close watch on his development. Those around the club believe a spot in a matchday squad before the end of the season wouldn't be out of the question if he maintains this level. That's interesting. Amorim's emphasis is on youth isn't about instant results, it's about identity. After years of drift, Man United look like a club reconnecting with their roots, blending academy talent with experienced pros. It's not perfect yet, but there's a growing sense that something genuine is taking shape at Carrington. So that was really encouraging, because it's been one of the criticisms I've got around Rúben Amorim, and it's all very well and good us getting these young players in, but there has to be clear direction and a clear path to the first team for them. And by the sounds of things, going off of that, and Sam C is a good source as well, got connections at the club and stuff. Suggesting that actually he's been told there is being a lot more effort now by Amorim introducing the young players into first team training. We've known that over the reports over the last few weeks anyway, and the images, and Shea Lacey and all these players have been stepping up into the first team. But also there seems to be a little bit more of going off of that report, a plan towards it as well, not just bringing them in for the sake of it when we've got international players that aren't back and we just need to fill them up for numbers. Actually putting them in the team and putting them in an environment to get to know the first team players and know the tactics and know what it takes to actually be a United first team player is really encouraging for me, really encouraging. I like it because that's that's our bread and butter, isn't it? That's United's history all over it, bringing through these sort of players, academy players and young players coming into the first team, so we can get back to our roots and developing them properly. And it seems like that there is a plan in place to do it, and encouraging at the end of that report where it says, there's a growing sense that something genuine could be happening behind the scenes with the young players and the integration and stuff. And I'm all for that as well. And interesting as well in the report about another glowing report around Shea Lacey. I think he's going to be the next one potentially to come through. Hopefully, and that goes back to what I was saying before about like a young winger, somebody to come off of the bench, like someone like a Shea Lacey would be perfect for that particular role when you're 3-0 up and you're in control of the game, as we were against Brighton. Because I don't blame Rúben Amorim for making the subs what he did at the time. It was just the drop off was kind of, it felt that it had the opposite effect of maybe what it should have been. Whereas if you had somebody with a bit of raw talent and so a young player with that enthusiasm and that excitement to come on and run around, because that's what it'll give you. That's what he would give you. Shea Lacey maybe could have done something to help us get that fourth goal, and it might have been a different game. But yeah, give us a really interesting, I felt, from Sam C. But give us your thoughts and your shouts and feelings on that in the comments below, as I am sure that you will. Now, that leads nicely on to the next story I've got for you regarding potential exits in January. So this is coming out from Samuel Luckhurst in The Sun, where he's saying that Manchester United are prepared to block requests from their players to leave in the January transfer window amid expected squad shortage. Kobe Mainoo and Joshua Zirkzee have had limited playing time this season, but both are in line for key roles around Christmas time. United are due to be without influential forwards Brian Mbeumo and Ahmed in December, as they will almost almost certainly be called up by their nations for the African Cup of Nations. Fullback Mazraoui is also expected to report for host nation Morocco. AFCON starts before Christmas this year, and Mbeumo and Ahmed likely to play for Cameroon and the Ivory Coast on Christmas Eve. And then it does say that the group stage ends in November. Ends on New Year's Eve, and the final is on January the 18th as well. So effectively what Samuel Lacas is saying is that United are potentially going to block the exits of Mainu and Xerxes in January because they feel that with AFCON and us losing Ahmad and Mbeumo and Mazraoui is going to lead to them getting more minutes. And I can see that making sense as well, because obviously Mainu could play in one of the 10, or you could push Bruno up to the 10, play Mainu in midfield next to Casemiro. Gives you a little bit more flexibility regarding that. And that's going to be a big blow, isn't it? AFCON worries me with Mbeumo and Ahmad specifically going. I think Mazraoui's, obviously a key player around the place and a part of the leadership group and stuff. But that Ahmad and Mbeumo link up literally has me making sex noises when I'm watching those two down the right-hand side. And it's a massive weapon for us to lose both through the AFCON. Huge blow, but that again could be an opportunity for someone like Shea Lacey to step up as well, and that's maybe why they're being integrated as well. Who knows? But it's going to be a bit of a jigsaw puzzle for Rúben Amorim and the club to sort out and fix, because they are key players, and maybe it makes sense for the club to say, well, actually, yeah, no, we're not going to allow early January exits because we're going to need you around that particular period. But it does say in the report that the AFCON finishes on January the 18th and the transfer window closes on February the 2nd as well. So if we are going to get, it'll be late exits potentially, or if we do get somebody in, then like one in, one out type situation. Who knows? On the exits though, David Ornstein had the following to say. So West Ham is looking to recruit several new players. Among the players mentioned, Kobbie Mainoo and Joshua Xerxes, but I think the chances of West Ham securing either of them are very slim. It is not clear yet whether they will leave Old Trafford. So David Ornstein saying that it's too early, I think, to decide or to mention around potential exits, but also that West Ham would not be an option maybe for Xerxes or Kobbie Mainoo, although I've not really heard those links with Kobbie Mainoo going to West Ham. That would have been a turn up for the books if that was the case as well. But yeah, we're just going to need to wait and see, keep an eye on it. I could see something happening with Xerxes, because I still think if Xerxes did go, we'd still have plenty of rotation options and for the 10 positions if he's seen as a number 10, or like Mainoo could play there. We've still got Mount and Cunha. It's more the right wing back that worries me. We're having Dalot at right wing back, and then that means that Dorgu would have to play at left wing back. Effectively, it's going to be really difficult, because when you've got the two defenders playing there, we default to a back five. So, but yeah, that's for further down the line, but give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below. And then the final story I've got for you is regarding one of our unsung heroes, I think, this season, and that's Matthijs de Ligt. So Matthijs de Ligt is one of the players Manchester United is most happy with this season. They feel he is reaching his peak level again for the first time since his breakthrough in 2018-2019. So that was via the BBC Sport, suggesting that United internally are the most happy with Matthijs de Ligt this season, and rightly so as well for me. I think he would be my player of the year if I was to choose now. It'd be close between him and Mbeumo at the moment, though I think Mbeumo's going to overtake Matthijs de Ligt just purely based on goals and assists and quality and flair, isn't it, when you've got an attacker like that? It always draws your attention, doesn't it? But Matthijs de Ligt has quietly gone about his business and been an absolute beast for us at the back as well. So fair play to Matthijs de Ligt for his performances this season. But it's nice that the club has started. I've recognised it as well, saying that he's the player they're most happy with so far this season, and long may that continue, because I think he's an absolute warrior. Sure, I saw a stat the other day. I might have brought it to you on a video, saying that he's won the most duels out of any centre half in the Premier League as well this season. So. Yeah, outstanding so far from Matthijs de Ligt, and long may that continue. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.